Hello everyone. What if I told you that one unexpected meeting could completely change your life? Not because someone gave you money, not because you became famous, but because a complete stranger quietly showed you a different way to live. At first, I didn't believe it either. If someone had told me a year ago that I would travel thousands of miles to Japan, meet an old man at an almost deserted train station, and return home as a completely different person, I would have laughed. But that's exactly what happened. Everything you're about to hear is based on a journey that changed me forever. So before we begin, take a deep breath and ask yourself one question. Are you truly living, or are you simply surviving? 3 years ago, my life looked perfect from the outside. I had a decent job, a modern apartment, the latest phone, a growing bank account, friends who thought I was successful. Every photo on social media showed me smiling. But every night, I sat alone in my apartment, staring at the ceiling, wondering why I felt so empty. Every morning was exactly the same. Wake up, rush to work, answer emails, attend endless meetings, scroll through social media during lunch, come home exhausted, watch random videos until midnight, sleep, repeat. Days turned into weeks, weeks turned into months, and somehow, I forgot what it felt like to be genuinely happy. One rainy evening, after another exhausting day, I walked into a small bookstore to escape the storm. While searching for anything to distract my mind, an old travel book slipped from a dusty shelf and landed at my feet. The cover showed a peaceful village surrounded by mountains. One word caught my attention: Japan. I opened the book randomly. A sentence was underlined in faded blue ink. The busiest people are not always the happiest. Sometimes peace begins when you stop chasing everything. I don't know who underlined those words, but they felt as though someone had written them just for me. That night, I couldn't sleep. For the first time in years, I asked myself, what am I actually chasing? A week later, without telling anyone, I applied for 2 weeks of leave. My coworkers thought I was going on vacation. I wasn't. I was running away from a life that no longer felt like mine. 2 months later, I landed in Japan. Everything was different. The streets were clean. People walked quietly. No one seemed to be in a hurry, yet everyone knew exactly where they were going. Even the air felt calmer. I spent the first few days visiting famous places, beautiful temples, bustling markets, ancient gardens. I took hundreds of photos, but strangely, the emptiness inside me didn't disappear. On my 5th day, I decided to visit a small countryside town far from the crowded cities. The train ride lasted almost 3 hours. As we moved deeper into the mountains, the buildings slowly disappeared. Green forests stretched endlessly outside the window. Tiny wooden houses stood beside peaceful rivers. For the first time in years, I put my phone away. When the train finally stopped, only 2 passengers got off. Me and an elderly man carrying a small cloth bag. The station was almost empty. There were no taxis, no crowds, no loud announcements, just the soft sound of rain falling on the old wooden roof. I checked my phone. No signal. The map wouldn't load. My hotel was nowhere in sight. I sighed. Perfect, I whispered. At that moment, the old man, who had already walked several steps ahead, suddenly stopped. Without turning around, he smiled and said in surprisingly clear English, "Sometimes, getting lost is the first step toward finding the life you were meant to live." I froze. How did he know exactly what I was feeling? He slowly turned to face me. His eyes were calm. Not the calm of someone who had never suffered, but the calm of someone who had survived every storm. He bowed politely. "My name is Kenji." Then he looked at my suitcase and smiled again. "I've been waiting for someone like you." My heart skipped a beat. Waiting? How could a complete stranger have been waiting for me? And before I could ask another question, he said something that would change my life forever. For the next 8 days, don't try to learn about Japan. He paused. Let Japan teach you. I stood frozen. The old man smiled as if he had known me for years. "I've been waiting for someone like you." Those words echoed in my mind. I looked around the empty station. There wasn't another person in sight. I'm sorry, I said cautiously. Do we know each other? Kenji chuckled softly. No. Then, why were you waiting for me? Instead of answering, he picked up his small cloth bag and started walking down a narrow road lined with cherry trees. If you want your answer, he called over his shoulder, walk with me. For a moment, I hesitated. Back home, I would never follow a stranger. But something about him felt different. There was no pressure, no sales pitch, no hidden agenda, just peace. I pulled my suitcase behind me and followed. The road was silent except for birds singing in the distance. After nearly 20 minutes, we reached a small wooden house at the foot of a mountain. It looked as though it had stood there for 100 years. A tiny garden filled the front yard. There were vegetables growing in perfect rows. Colorful flowers surrounded smooth stones. Not a single leaf was out of place. Kenji noticed me staring. Beautiful. I nodded. It must take a lot of work. He smiled. No, I only spend 10 minutes here every morning. I looked at him in surprise. That's impossible. He laughed. Everyone thinks beautiful things require giant effort. He gently picked up a dry leaf from the ground. Most beautiful things are built by tiny efforts repeated for many years. I didn't fully understand. Inside the house, everything was simple. Wooden floors, paper doors, a low table, 2 cups of hot green tea, no television, no expensive decorations, no unnecessary clutter. Yet, the house felt warmer than my luxury apartment back home. After a few minutes of silence, Kenji asked, "Tell me, why did you come to Japan?" I answered honestly, "I'm tired." From traveling? No, from work. I shook my head. I'm tired of my own life. He didn't interrupt. So I kept talking. I told him about the endless deadlines, the pressure to succeed, the sleepless nights, the feeling that no matter how much I achieved, it was never enough. When I finally stopped speaking, the room became quiet. Kenji slowly poured more tea into my cup. Then he asked one question. When was the last time you became better at something, simply because you enjoyed it? I searched my memory. Nothing came to mind. Everything I did had become a competition. More money, more followers, more success, more. Kenji nodded, as if he had expected that answer. The next morning, before sunrise, he knocked gently on my guest room door. Come. Still half asleep, I followed him outside. He handed me a tiny broom. Today, your job is to sweep these steps. I looked at the stone staircase. There were only a few leaves. This will take 2 minutes. Exactly. Confused, I swept the steps. When I finished, I smiled proudly. There. Kenji looked down. Then he quietly pointed to one tiny corner I had missed. One single leaf remained. I laughed. It's only one leaf. He looked at me kindly. Yes. Then he picked it up himself. It's always only one leaf. I frowned. What do you mean? He sat beside the garden. People destroy their lives because they believe small things don't matter. They skip one workout. They waste 1 hour. They ignore one promise. They postpone one dream. They tell themselves, it's only today. He looked directly into my eyes. But life is built from thousands of only todays. His words hit me harder than I expected. Because he was describing me. Every excuse I had ever made suddenly echoed in my mind. I'll start tomorrow. Just one more day. Next week. Next month. Kenji smiled gently. In Japan, we have a way of thinking. We don't try to become perfect overnight. We simply become a little better today than we were yesterday. He picked up a tiny seed from the garden and placed it in my hand. This seed will not become a tree tomorrow, but if someone waters it every day, it becomes a forest. I stared at the seed resting in my palm. It seemed so small, so ordinary, yet somehow, it felt heavier than anything I had ever held. That evening, before going to sleep, I looked at the tiny seed one more time. For the first time in years, I wasn't thinking about my job, or my failures, or tomorrow's problems. I was thinking about one simple question. What is the one small thing I can do differently, tomorrow? Little did I know, The second lesson waiting for me the next morning would challenge something even deeper. The very reason I believed I existed. The next morning, I woke up before Kenji knocked on my door. For the first time in years, I actually wanted to know what the day would bring. Outside, the sun was slowly rising over the mountains. The morning air was cool. Birds sang somewhere in the distance. Kenji was already sitting on the wooden porch, quietly drinking tea. He smiled as he saw me. "Good. You woke up before your alarm." I laughed. "I guess I'm getting used to this place." He nodded. "No, you're getting used to yourself." His words stayed with me as we began walking through the village. The streets were peaceful. Shopkeepers bowed to every customer. Children greeted elderly people with bright smiles. No one seemed rushed. No one looked lost. Everyone moved with quiet purpose. Finally, I asked the question that had been bothering me. "Kenji, why does everyone here seem happy?" He stopped walking. Instead of answering, he pointed toward a small bicycle repair shop. An old man was carefully fixing a rusty bicycle. Every movement was slow, precise, almost artistic. "You see that man?" I nodded. "He's been repairing bicycles for over 50 years. Doesn't he get bored?" Kenji smiled. "I've asked him that. And do you know what he said?" I shook my head. He said, "Every bicycle I repair helps someone continue their journey." I looked at the old mechanic again. He wasn't just fixing metal. He believed he was helping people. Suddenly, his work looked completely different. A few minutes later, we passed a woman arranging flowers outside a tiny cafe. Every flower was placed with care, not because anyone was watching, but because she cared. Then we met a fisherman returning from the river. His basket wasn't full, yet he smiled as if he had caught the greatest treasure in the world. I couldn't understand it. They don't seem rich. They aren't famous. So, why are they so content? Kenji looked toward the mountains. In many places, people ask, "How can I become successful?" But here, many people first ask, "Why was I given this life?" We continued walking until we reached a hill overlooking the village. The wind gently moved the tall grass. Kenji sat on a wooden bench. "When I was your age, I wanted to become a businessman. I chased money. I chased recognition. I chased bigger and bigger dreams." He looked down at his weathered hands. And one day, I realized I had achieved everything, except happiness. His voice became quiet. So I started over. I frowned. "You started over? At your age?" He laughed. "There is no age limit for finding your purpose." From his pocket, he took out a small notebook. Its cover was faded. The pages were worn. He handed it to me. Inside, every page contained only one sentence. Simple, short, but deeply personal. One page read, "Today I helped a lonely neighbor smile." Another said, "Today I planted one tree that I may never sit beneath." Another, "Today I became a little kinder than yesterday." I looked up. "What is this?" Kenji smiled. "My reason to wake up." He gently tapped the notebook. "In Japan, some people call it ikigai, your reason for being. Not something the world gives you. Something you discover by how you choose to live." That night, I couldn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling. One question kept repeating in my mind. What is my reason to wake up? For years, I had been waking up because of alarms, deadlines, bills, responsibilities. But had I ever truly had a reason? Outside my window, the wind softly moved through the bamboo trees. Inside my room, Kenji's notebook lay on the table. I slowly opened it again. Something fell out. A very old photograph. It showed a much younger Kenji, standing beside a smiling little girl. On the back, only 6 handwritten words appeared. The promise I couldn't keep. Who was the little girl? And what promise had changed Kenji's life forever? The old photograph was still in my hands. A young Kenji stood beside a little girl who looked no older than 7 years old. Both of them were smiling. But the words written on the back of the picture were impossible to ignore. The promise I couldn't keep. I turned the photograph over again, hoping I had somehow read it wrong. But the words remained. I wanted to ask Kenji about it. I wanted to know who she was. What happened? Why did those 6 words sound like a lifetime of regret? But something stopped me. For the first time since meeting him, I saw sadness in his eyes. The calm old man who seemed to understand everything suddenly looked like someone carrying a heavy memory. So I closed the notebook and placed the photograph back inside. Maybe some stories need time before they can be told. The next morning, Kenji was not in the garden. I looked around the house. The tea was prepared. The door was open, but he was nowhere to be found. Then I noticed a small note on the table. It said, "Come to the river before sunrise." Nothing else. I followed the path behind the house. The village was quiet. A thin layer of mist covered the river. And there he was. Kenji was sitting near the water, holding an old fishing rod. "Do you fish?" I asked. He smiled. "Sometimes. But I don't come here only to catch fish." I sat beside him. "Then why?" He watched the flowing water. "Because the river teaches patience." I smiled. "Another life lesson?" He laughed. "Maybe." For a while, we said nothing. Back home, silence always felt uncomfortable. I would immediately grab my phone, turn on music, find something to distract myself. But here, silence felt peaceful. It felt like my mind finally had space to breathe. After a few minutes, Kenji spoke. "When you arrived here, what did you notice first?" I thought about it. The quiet. And the simplicity. And I looked at him. The people. He nodded. "Exactly. Most people think happiness comes from adding more. More money. More things. More achievements. But sometimes, the first step toward happiness is removing what is unnecessary." That afternoon, Kenji took me to a small community center. Inside, several elderly people were preparing food for villagers. One woman was cutting vegetables. Another was teaching children how to paint. An old man was repairing broken toys. I watched them carefully. "Do they volunteer every day?" I asked. Kenji nodded. "Many of them do." "But why?" "They don't receive money." He looked surprised by my question. "Not everything valuable has a price." One woman noticed us and waved. "Kenji." She smiled. "Is this your new student?" I laughed. "I'm not his student." Kenji looked at me. "Everyone is a student. Even teachers." The woman handed me a bowl of vegetables. "Help us." I looked around. "I don't know how." She smiled. "Nobody knows at the beginning." So I helped. It was a simple task. Cutting vegetables. Cleaning tables. Talking with people. Nothing extraordinary happened. But when I returned to Kenji's house that evening, I realized something strange. I felt tired, but in a good way. Not the tiredness I felt after work. Not the empty exhaustion after spending hours chasing meaningless goals. This was different. I felt useful. That night, I asked Kenji something. "How did you learn all of this?" He looked at the garden outside. "I didn't." "You didn't?" "No. I spent many years making mistakes." He smiled sadly. "Sometimes life teaches us through things we wish never happened." I remembered the photograph. The girl. The promise. Before I could ask, Kenji continued. "Many years ago, I had a daughter. The room became quiet. Her name was Hannah. I listened carefully. She was the happiest person I ever knew. She could find joy in the smallest things. A flower. A song. A simple walk. But I was different. I believed my job was more important than everything. I told myself, I'm working hard for my family." He looked down. But I forgot that love also needs time. My heart sank. What happened? Kenji took a deep breath. One day, Hannah asked me to spend the day with her. She wanted to visit a small garden she loved. But I had an important meeting. So I promised. "I will take you tomorrow." He paused. But tomorrow never came. The wind moved through the trees outside. When I finally had time, it was too late. Hannah had grown up. She left home. And the distance between us became bigger every year. I quietly asked, "Did you ever see her again?" Kenji looked toward the photograph on the table. "Yes, but before I found her again, I had to understand something." "What?" He looked at me. Life is not measured by how much you achieve. It is measured by what you give your attention to. Those words stayed with me, because I knew I had been making the same mistake. Maybe not with a daughter, but with my own life. I was always waiting for tomorrow. Tomorrow I would rest. Tomorrow I would start. Tomorrow I would spend time with people I cared about. But what if tomorrow never came? The next morning, Kenji gave me a small wooden box. Inside was a simple bowl. "What's this?" he asked. "A reminder." "Of what?" He smiled. "Enjoy what you have before searching for what you don't." I held the bowl carefully, and for the first time, I understood another secret of Japanese wisdom. A peaceful life isn't created by having everything. It's created by appreciating something. But before I could ask Kenji about Hannah, a visitor arrived at the house. A woman stood at the door. She looked at Kenji with tears in her eyes. Then she looked at me and said, "Who are you?" I didn't know what to answer, because the woman standing in front of me was the little girl from the photograph. The same gentle eyes, the same smile, but now she was an adult. For a few seconds, nobody spoke. Kenji stood completely still. It was as if time had stopped inside that small wooden house. Then, with a trembling voice, he whispered, "Hannah." The woman's eyes filled with tears. "Hello, father." That one word broke the silence. Kenji slowly walked toward her. Not like an old man walking, like a father who had been waiting years for one moment. "I'm sorry," he whispered. Hannah looked down. I know. 2 simple words. But they carried years of emotions. I quietly stepped outside. Some moments belong only to family. I sat near the garden and looked at the flowers. The same garden where Kenji had taught me that small things matter. After almost an hour, Hannah came outside. "I'm sorry," she said. I stood up. "You don't have to apologize." She smiled softly. "Thank you for listening to my father's stories." I looked surprised. "He told me about you?" She nodded. "He said a young man came to the village carrying a heavy heart." I smiled. "Your father understands people very well." Hannah looked toward the house. "He always did." She was quiet for a moment, even when he didn't understand himself. Later that evening, we all sat together for dinner. It was a simple meal. Rice, vegetables, soup, nothing expensive. But I noticed something. Everyone was completely present. No phones, no distractions. No one eating quickly while thinking about something else. They were enjoying the moment. After dinner, Hannah looked at me. "My father probably taught you about purpose." I nodded. "Yes." She smiled. "But he forgot to teach you another important thing." "What?" She looked at the empty bowl in front of me, knowing when enough is enough. I remembered something. "The bowl Kenji gave me." "What does that mean?" Hannah explained. "My father used to believe that happiness was always somewhere ahead. When he got a better job, when he earned more money, when he achieved more, then he would finally relax." She smiled sadly. "But happiness doesn't wait at the finish line. It has to walk with you." The next morning, Hannah invited me to a small restaurant near the village. It was run by an elderly couple. The restaurant was tiny, only a few tables, but every customer was welcomed like family. The old woman placed a plate in front of us. I looked at the portion. It was smaller than the meals I usually ate. I laughed. "Is this enough?" Hannah smiled. "That depends." "On what?" "On whether you are eating because you need food, or because you are trying to fill something else." Her words surprised me. Back home, I often ate while working. I ate when I was stressed. I ate while watching videos. I rarely noticed the food itself. But here, people ate slowly. They enjoyed every bite. They stopped when they felt satisfied. After lunch, Hannah told me something her father had taught her when she was young. He used to say, "Your body is the only home you can never leave. So take care of it." That evening, Kenji and I walked through the village. I asked him, "Did you teach Hannah these lessons?" He smiled. "No." She taught me. I looked at him. "How?" "By leaving." I stayed silent. Sometimes losing something important shows us what was truly important. The sadness in his voice was still there, but it was no longer filled with regret. It was filled with acceptance. The next few days passed differently. I stopped checking my phone every few minutes. I started waking up early. I helped in the garden. I talked with villagers. I walked through the forest without needing a reason. And slowly, something inside me began changing. I realized I had spent years trying to control everything. My future, my success, other people's opinions. But the more I controlled, the more anxious I became. The villagers didn't live perfectly. They had problems. They had struggles. But they accepted life as it came. They understood that not everything needed to be fixed. Some things simply needed to be appreciated. One evening, Kenji took me to a place deep inside the forest. The trees were tall. The air was fresh. The world felt completely silent. "This place is special," he said. "Why?" "Because people forget they are part of nature." He touched the tree beside him. "We spend so much time surrounded by walls that we forget what peace feels like." We walked deeper into the forest. For the first time in years, my mind was completely quiet. No worries, no pressure, no endless thoughts. Just the sound of leaves moving in the wind. Then Kenji stopped. "Do you feel it?" I nodded. "This is what happens when you return to something simple." He smiled. "Nature doesn't hurry, but everything grows." As we walked back, Kenji suddenly stopped. On the ground was a broken tree branch. He picked it up and looked at it carefully. Then he said something I would never forget. "People throw away broken things. But sometimes, broken things carry the most beautiful stories." I didn't understand what he meant. Not yet. But the next morning, Kenji showed me something hidden inside his house. Something that revealed the hardest chapter of his life. And it would teach me that even the deepest wounds can become a source of strength. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of rain. Soft drops touched the wooden roof of Kenji's house. The village looked completely different. The paths were wet. The mountains were covered in mist. Everything was quiet. I walked into the kitchen and found Kenji sitting at the table. In front of him was an old wooden box. The same box I had noticed many times before. But he had never opened it. Today was different. He looked at me and said, "Today, I want to show you something." I sat down beside him. Slowly, he opened the box. Inside were old letters, photographs, and a small broken cup. I recognized it immediately. It was the cup he always used for tea. The one with a golden line running through it. I picked it up carefully. "What happened to this?" Kenji smiled. "It broke many years ago." "Then why didn't you throw it away?" He looked at the cup. "Because its broken pieces became part of its story." He placed the cup on the table. When Hannah left home, I spent many years blaming myself. I thought my mistake had destroyed everything. I believed some things were too broken to repair. He touched the golden line on the cup. Then an old friend gave this back to me. He repaired it using a traditional technique. He told me, "Don't hide the cracks. Honor them." I looked at the cup. The cracks were not covered. They were highlighted. They made the cup unique. Beautiful. Different. Kenji continued. "Many people think broken means useless. But life doesn't work that way. People break. Dreams break. Plans break. But broken does not mean finished." That afternoon, Kenji took me to meet his old friend, a craftsman who repaired pottery. His small workshop was filled with beautiful objects. Some were new. Some were repaired. But the repaired ones caught my attention the most. They had marks, lines, stories. The craftsman handed me a repaired bowl. "Do you like it?" I nodded. "Actually, I like this one more than the new ones." He smiled. "Why?" "Because it has a story." He nodded. "Exactly." Then he said something that stayed in my mind. Sometimes our scars are proof that we survived something difficult. On the way back, I thought about my own life. All the things I tried to hide. My failures. My mistakes. The times I wasn't successful. The dreams I had abandoned. For years, I thought those things made me weak. But maybe they were part of my story. That evening, I sat with Kenji near the garden. "I think I understand now," I said. "Understand what?" "That we don't need a perfect life to be happy." He smiled. "Good. But there is something else." "What?" "Acceptance is not giving up." He looked at me seriously. It is having the strength to see reality clearly and still choose to move forward. Those words were different from the motivational quotes I had seen online. They weren't telling me to ignore pain. They were teaching me to grow through it. The next day, Kenji gave me another task. He asked me to help repair an old wooden fence near the garden. At first, I thought it was strange. Why repair this? The wood is old. It would be easier to replace it. Kenji smiled. That is how many people think. They replace everything when something becomes imperfect. But sometimes, repairing requires more love than replacing. Together, we worked on the fence. It took hours. My hands became tired. But when we finished, I felt proud. Not because it looked new, because I had helped restore something. That night, I opened my notebook, the one Kenji had given me. For the first time, I wrote something myself. Today I learned that my past is not something to hide. It is something that helped create who I am. I closed the notebook, and I smiled. The following morning, Kenji surprised me. We are leaving tomorrow. I looked at him. Leaving? He nodded. Your journey here is almost complete. I felt something I didn't expect. Sadness. In only a few days, this village had started feeling like home. But Kenji wasn't finished. There are still lessons you haven't learned. Which ones? He looked toward the mountains. The hardest ones. Patience, kindness, and the courage to continue when life becomes difficult. That night, while packing my bag, I found a letter inside my suitcase. I had no idea how it got there. The handwriting was old. The name at the bottom made my heart stop. Kenji. I opened it. The first line said, "If you are reading this, it means I finally found someone who needed these lessons." I kept reading, and slowly, I realized something. Kenji had not brought me to this village by accident. He had chosen me for a reason. But why? And what secret was he still hiding? The letter shook slightly in my hands. I read the first sentence again. "If you are reading this, it means I finally found someone who needed these lessons." My heart started beating faster. Why had Kenji written this? And why had he hidden it in my suitcase? I continued reading. Years ago, I made a mistake that I thought I could never forgive myself for. I spent many years running away from my regret. But life taught me something important. I stopped. Outside my window, the rain continued falling. The whole village was silent. I wanted to keep reading, but at the same time, I felt like I was opening a door that was not meant to be opened. Then I heard a voice behind me. "You found it." I turned around. Kenji was standing at the door. I quickly stood up. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to read your letter." He smiled gently. "No, I wanted you to find it." I looked confused. "Why?" He walked toward the table and sat down. "Because some lessons cannot be explained. They must be felt." Kenji looked at the letter. When Hannah was young, she loved painting. She would spend hours creating pictures. One day, she painted a picture of our family. Me, her mother, and herself. He smiled sadly, but I was too busy. I looked at the painting and said, "It's nice." Only 2 words. He looked down. But to a child, sometimes 2 words are not enough. I listened quietly. Years later, when I found the painting again, I noticed something. What? She had drawn me standing far away from the family. Not because she didn't love me, but because she felt I was always far away. The room became quiet. I spent years thinking I needed to give my family a better life. More money, a bigger house, more comfort. But I forgot something. He looked at me. The people we love don't need a perfect life. They need our presence. His words felt heavy, because I remembered my own life. How many moments had I missed while chasing something else? How many times had I said, "Later, not now, when I'm successful"? The next morning, we left the village. Hannah came with us. She wanted to visit a place she and her father hadn't visited in many years. After an hour of walking, we reached a beautiful garden beside a lake. Hannah stopped. "This is where my father promised to take me." Kenji looked at her. "I'm sorry it took so long." She smiled. "Maybe we came at the right time." They sat together beside the lake. They didn't talk much. They didn't need to. Sometimes healing doesn't come from perfect words. Sometimes it comes from simply being there. As I watched them, I understood another lesson. A person can spend years trying to fix the past, but the only place where change can happen is the present. You cannot go back and change yesterday, but you can choose what you do today. Later, Hannah and I walked through the garden. You know, she said, my father changed after meeting you. I laughed. I think he changed me more. She shook her head. No, he needed to teach someone else because he needed to remember his own lessons too. That surprised me. Your father needed lessons? She smiled. Everyone does. Even the people who seem wise. That evening, Kenji showed me a small notebook. It was different from the one he had given me. This one was filled with names. Hundreds of names. Who are these people? People I met. People who taught me something. I looked through the pages. Some names had small notes beside them. A farmer who taught patience. A teacher who taught kindness. A child who taught joy. A stranger who taught courage. Then I saw my own name. I froze. Next to my name, Kenji had written, he came searching for a better life. He discovered he already had one. I looked at him. When did you write this? He smiled. The first day you arrived. But how did you know? He looked toward the mountains. I didn't. I only hoped. The next morning was my last day in the village. I packed my bag slowly. Part of me wanted to stay, but I knew my journey was not about escaping my old life. It was about returning to it differently. Before I left, Kenji gave me one final gift. A small empty notebook. This is for you. What should I write? He smiled. Your own story. I opened the first page. There was already one sentence written. A meaningful life is not created in one big moment. It is created in thousands of small choices. I looked at Kenji. Will I ever see you again? He smiled. If you remember the lessons, you will carry me with you. As my train slowly left the station, I looked back. Kenji and Hannah were standing there, waving goodbye. I thought I was leaving Japan behind, but I was wrong. Japan was leaving with me, because the rail journey was just beginning. The train moved slowly through the mountains. I watched the village disappear behind the trees, the small wooden houses, the quiet river, the garden where Kenji taught me my first lesson. Everything became smaller and smaller until it was gone. But strangely, I didn't feel sad. For the first time in a long time, I felt peaceful. Before coming to Japan, I thought I needed to escape my life. I thought happiness was waiting somewhere far away, in another country, in another job, in another version of myself. But Kenji had shown me something different. A better life does not always begin by changing your surroundings. Sometimes, it begins by changing the way you see them. When I returned home, everything looked exactly the same. My apartment, my office, the busy streets, the endless notifications on my phone. Nothing outside had changed. But I had. The first morning back, my alarm rang. Normally, I would jump out of bed already thinking about stress. But that day, I opened my window. I watched the sunrise. I made tea slowly. I sat quietly for a few minutes. It was a small thing, almost meaningless. But I remembered Kenji's words. A peaceful life is built from small moments. At work, my coworkers noticed something different. You seem calmer, one of them said. I smiled. Maybe I finally learned how to slow down. They laughed. Slow down? In this world. I understood why they laughed. Everyone was rushing. Everyone was chasing something. But many people never stopped to ask, where am I actually going? A few weeks later, I started making small changes. Not huge changes. Not a dramatic transformation. Just small steps. I started reading a few pages every night instead of scrolling for hours. I walked outside after work instead of immediately sitting in front of a screen. I called my family more often. I listened when people spoke instead of waiting for my turn to talk. I cleaned my apartment and removed things I didn't need. My life didn't become perfect. Problems still existed. Bad days still came. But I felt stronger. One evening, I received a message from Hannah. She had sent me a photograph. It was of Kenji sitting in his garden. The caption said, "Father says your garden is growing." I smiled. I didn't have a garden. Not a real one. But I knew what she meant. The small changes I had planted were slowly growing. Months passed. One day, I visited a small cafe near my home. An exhausted young man was sitting alone at a table. I recognized the look on his face. The same empty expression I had carried when I arrived in Japan. He was staring at his laptop, checking emails, ignoring his coffee, looking completely lost. For a moment, I saw my old self. I sat across from him. "Are you okay?" He looked surprised. "I'm fine." I smiled. "That's what everyone says." He laughed quietly. Then he started talking. About pressure. About feeling behind. About not knowing what he was working toward. I listened. I didn't give him a speech. I didn't tell him how to fix his life. I simply listened. Because Kenji taught me something important. Sometimes people don't need answers. Sometimes they need someone who truly sees them. That night, I opened the notebook Kenji gave me. The pages were almost full. Every page contained a small lesson I had learned. Then I wrote one final sentence. The greatest change in my life was not becoming someone new. It was finally becoming myself. I closed the notebook. And I thought about Kenji. The old man at the empty station. The stranger who wasn't really a stranger. The person who showed me that a meaningful life isn't built with extraordinary moments. It's built with ordinary moments lived with extraordinary attention. 1 year later, I returned to Japan. I wanted to visit Kenji and Hannah. When I arrived at the village, everything looked familiar. The river, the trees, the small wooden houses. But when I reached Kenji's home, the door was closed. My heart became heavy. A neighbor saw me and walked over. "You came to see Kenji?" I nodded. The neighbor smiled sadly. "He knew you would return." "Where is he?" The neighbor handed me an envelope. Before he left, he asked me to give this to you. I opened it slowly. Inside was one final letter. Only a few lines. "You once asked me why I was waiting for you at the station. The truth is, I wasn't waiting for you. I was waiting for the person you were becoming." My eyes became wet. At the bottom of the letter was one final sentence. "Now it is your turn to help someone else find their way." I stood there quietly. And suddenly, I understood. Kenji's lessons were never meant to stay with me. They were meant to continue. From one person to another. Like a small seed becoming a tree. Like a simple kindness becoming a lifetime of change. Because sometimes, one person, one conversation, one small moment, can completely change the direction of a life. The end. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Choice to learn for more inspiring and heartwarming stories. Which lesson touched your heart the most? Let me know in the comments below. I read every comment. Remember, big changes don't happen overnight. They begin with one small step, one kind action, and one meaningful choice. Until our next story, take care of yourself, keep learning, and never stop believing that a better life can begin today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.